Hello, everyone. Today we return to the topic of the hottest football derbies. And this time, we have a truly fierce confrontation because this derby is more than 100 years old. Today we will tell you about the Manchester Derby, Manchester United against Manchester City. It will be intense. Let's go. Manchester is a city of real workers. The vast majority of the population is working class, and football here has long been the main form of entertainment. Even the origins of Manchester United are closely tied to the working class. A group of railway workers used to kick a ball around on the outskirts of the city in their free time. That is how the club was born. Manchester City, on the other hand, was founded by Anna Connell, the daughter of a priest from one of the city's less prosperous districts. In order to distract local residents from alcohol, drugs, and other temptations, she organized a football team called West Gorton, the future Manchester City. The first Manchester Derby took place in 1881. Manchester United won 3-0. At that time, there was no real hostility between the neighbors. Until the early 1900s, both clubs lingered on the fringes of English football and mainly competed for local trophies. Manchester fans would attend matches of both clubs. One week they supported City, the next United. As early as 1904, Manchester City won the FA Cup, establishing undisputed leadership in the city. The club, however, failed to build on that success. City became involved in a financial scandal. They paid players wages in envelopes. As a result, 16 players were banned for life from representing the club. The ban ended up helping their neighbors. City's best players signed contracts with the Red Devils. The following year, with their help, Manchester United won the first title in the club's history. The lack of mutual hatred at that time is highlighted by another fact. The iconic Manchester United manager Matt Busby, who spent a total of 25 years at Old Trafford, played 8 seasons in a Manchester City shirt. And there was no negativity toward him from either United or City fans. In the 1970s, the era of real confrontation between the clubs began. The rise of active fan movements made itself felt. Scarves, chants, fights. All the attributes of football fanaticism reached Manchester as well. Still, the main conflicts continued to happen on the pitch. In December 1970, George Best made a brutal tackle on Glenn Pardo and broke his leg. The injury was so serious that Pardo almost lost his leg and immediately ended his football career. In the 1973-74 season, Mike Doyle from City and Lou Macari from United were both sent off, but refused to leave the pitch. Instead, they started a fight, which forced the match to be stopped. The brawl continued in the dressing room, and the game ended with zeros on the scoreboard. That same season, Manchester United were on the brink of relegation from the top division. That was when the famous story of Dennis Law was born, the man who pushed his former club out of the elite. In the final round, Manchester United needed a win in the home derby to survive, but the only goal, scored with a back heel, came from a City striker, Dennis Law. What makes it even more dramatic is the fact that before City, Law had spent 9 years at Old Trafford, scored 171 goals, and became a club legend. Law left the pitch in tears. That match became his last. I have rarely felt as upset as I did that day. For 19 years, I did everything to score goals, but I scored one that I did not want to score, Law later explained. It was later revealed that even a win would not have saved Manchester United from relegation, because in a parallel match, Birmingham picked up points against Norwich. But City fans still remember that match as the day Dennis Law, with a back heel, sent United down to the second division. A year later, Manchester United returned to the top flight. In the early 1990s, Manchester United had grown stronger and began to dominate England. It was the peak of the Sir Alex Ferguson era. In 1994, United thrashed their neighbors 5-0 at home. That match became a tragedy for Manchester City. Just a few years earlier, the club would have finished second in the league. But after this humiliating defeat, City ended the season in 17th place, and soon after fell all the way to the third tier. In the opening derby of the new millennium in 2001, the teams delivered a true action thriller. The crowd witnessed the final chapter of the long-standing feud between Roy Keane and Alfing Holland, which had begun back in 1997. At that time, Holland was playing for Leeds, and Keane was already the captain of United. Throughout the entire match, Alf tormented his opponent, pulling his shirt, constantly provoking him. Keane had no doubt that the Leeds manager had deliberately assigned Holland to mark him. Trying to catch up with the ball, Roy Keane slid in from behind on Holland, and a moment later collapsed in terrible pain. It turned out that the Manchester United midfielder had torn his cruciate ligament. Holland lost his temper. It seemed to him that Keane was getting up from the turf, trying to disguise his foul. Alf rushed over to the fallen opponent and said, "Stop faking it. Get up." Roy Keane clearly held a grudge. April 21st, 2001, the 85th minute of the match. Keane flies in studs up into Holland's knee. From the impact, the Norwegian was flipped into the air. The Manchester United captain was shown a red card, and leaning over his opponent, he said, "Take that." Try coming up to me again with that smirk and telling me I was faking it. After that, Keane received a 3-match suspension and a fine of £5,000. Soon after, the Irishman's first autobiography was released, where he admitted that he had planned his revenge. I waited too long for this moment. As a result, Keane was given an additional 5-match suspension and a fine of £150,000. A new chapter in the relationship began in 2008, when the investment group Abu Dhabi United Group, led by Sheikh Mansour, took control of Manchester City. The Arabs immediately started investing billions into the club, into players, the stadium, the academy, and infrastructure. That is how the club lured its first wave of top players of that era: Rubinho, Mario Balotelli, David Silva, and Sergio Aguero. In the summer of 2009, City signed Carlos Tevez, who had completely fallen out with Alex Ferguson. Manchester City plastered the entire city with billboards that read, "Welcome, Carlos." Sir Alex responded with disdain. "They think that taking Tevez from us is a triumph. I wouldn't call it a reason for celebration." And soon after, he delivered his iconic phrase about the noisy neighbors. "Sometimes you have noisy neighbors, and there is nothing you can do about it. They will always be noisy, so you just turn on the television and turn the volume up." Since then, that nickname has stuck to me. The 2011-2012 season became the peak moment for City. It began with a humiliating defeat of Manchester United at Old Trafford, 6-1. That was the moment when the noisy neighbors turned the volume all the way up. In the second half of the season, Manchester City won the derby again, not allowing their rival a single shot on target. On the final day of the season, City hosted Queen's Park Rangers. The clock showed the 93rd minute. A pass from Balotelli and Aguero, sliding, rolls the ball into the net, snatching victory and the first league title for City in 44 years. "My God, this is a madhouse," said Roberto Mancini, the man who coached Manchester City that night. During the title celebrations, as Manchester City rode through the city on an open-top bus, Carlos Tevez held up a banner that read, "Rest in peace, Fergie." With that, the forward reminded Sir Alex of his words, that City would not become champions while he was alive. Soon after, the club issued official apologies, but that only angered Ferguson even more. "It feels like Ferguson is the president of England. Every time he makes an inappropriate remark about me, I don't demand an apology. You don't need to apologize when you're joking." That was the response from City. On the morning of December 11th, 2017, British newspapers printed a sensational story. Jose Mourinho, then manager of Manchester United, got into a fight in the understands room after the derby. According to the Telegraph, the Portuguese coach entered the City locker room and expressed his displeasure that they were celebrating too loudly, asking them to turn down the music. Mourinho also said that City players must show more respect toward their rivals. The Brazilian goalkeeper, Ederson, answered sharply. A verbal confrontation ensued. In the end, Mourinho hit his opponent with a plastic bottle on the head, and Ederson splashed milk back at the coach. Other City players poured water over the Portuguese. It seems this derby will last forever. And that's it. Write in the comments which football derbies you would like to learn about next. Give a like and hit the bell. There are many more football stories coming.